watch my previous video that shows you how to stack and frost your cake and make it get really nice and sweet sides so that it's a great surface to decorate. Today, in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to decorate with some really simple classic borders. A border on the top and the bottom of your cake is the best way to make it go from just a plain cake to a really pretty and exciting one. So that's what I'm going to be showing you today. To get started, you need to have a couple basic things so that you can do these decorating styles. The first and most important one is called a piping bag. These are pretty easy to find at any craft store or online, and it's these cone-shaped bags, and this is what you're going to actually be putting your frosting in to pipe onto your cake. If you don't have piping bags, you don't want to go get them. Plastic bags will work too, like the Ziploc bags will work. Make sure that you just get one that's big enough, like maybe a gallon-sized one, so that you can fit all of your frosting into it. After we have our piping bags, of course, we have our frosting. I just colored mine up with some gel food coloring. You can really use any food coloring you want to get whatever color you want in your frosting. I have scissors because I'm going to need that for the piping bags, and then most importantly, we need piping tips. So I'm going to be showing two different kinds of piping tips today. One is really simple and easy to find. You can just buy it all by itself, which is why I'm going to be demonstrating a lot with it, and that is the Wilton 1M piping tip. Again, you can just buy this individually, so you don't have to go out and get a whole cake decorating set if you don't want to. You can just get this one tip. It's the 1M from Wilton, and that is going to get you started with all of the decorating styles I'm going to show you today. If you want to be a little more ambitious and go get a whole decorating set, they come in some basic sizes with all of these decorating tips. This is the Wilton number 18 star tip, and this is another one that I'm going to be demonstrating, and it's going to come with some couplers, which is what this plastic two-piece thing is. The first decorating style that I'm going to show you is how to make shells with your frosting. Shells is a really simple border. You can do it around the top of the cake or the bottom of the cake, and it looks really classic and good. So to get started, you're going to take your piping bag or your big Ziploc bag, and we need to get this end that's sealed, we need to get it open, and we need to have it fit our tip. So I'm going to take that 1M decorating tip, and I am going to slide it down into the bag until it's not quite all the way at the bottom. You don't want to cut too much off so that it's too big and the tip slides out, so we're just going to do a little at a time. So I'm going to cut the top off and slide it up. No, I need it to be a little bit of a bigger opening. If you're using a plastic bag, you would do the exact same technique that I just did with the piping bag, but you do it in the corner of the bag. So this is pretty secure. The tip isn't going to come flying out the bottom of the bag, but the star tip is fully outside of the plastic, so that's what we want. Now you're going to fill our bag. So you just fold the sides of the bag down. And I like to just hold my bags while I fill them. Other people like to put them inside of a glass so that they stay upright. You don't have to hold it. Whatever you want to do is fine. So I'm going to take my frosting. And you don't want to fill your bag all the way up to the top. You just want to fill it about halfway. And you'll see that when I push the frosting down. You want to make sure that your frosting gets all the way down to the tip. As you can see, it's starting to come out for me. I just spin the bag and then hold it like this, and you are ready to start piping. So when you're first starting out with decorating, you might want to practice on a flat surface before you go ahead and put stuff on your cake. So I'm going to demonstrate all these techniques on a flat surface first, and then I'm going to show you how to put them on your cake. So for this first style, the shell border, you're going to use that 1M tip. You're gonna hold your tip at about a 45-degree angle to your surface. You don't wanna be straight up and down, and you don't wanna be flat. You wanna be at a nice 45-degree angle, and all you're gonna do is start applying pressure so that the frosting builds. Once the frosting has built a little bit, you're gonna move your tip up and start releasing pressure as you pull away towards you. So now that I've explained that, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna squeeze, build up the pressure, lift up, and pull away. When you get to the end of that shell, you're gonna have a little tail where you just start your second shell of squeezing, pulling up, release as you pull away, pull away. So I'm gonna show what that looks at the side. You get that little shell tip. They're all connected. Notice how there's no separation between these shells. They're all connected there. So now that you've practiced on your flat surface, you're ready to try it on your cake. The technique is the exact same. You're just going to be at a slight side angle to the cake so that you are almost pulling straight towards you, just like you did on the paper, but now you're on your cake. Remember, you want to be at a 45-degree angle. You're not up and vertical, but you're also not flat against the cake board. So you're just going to start piping your shells. Show you is called the braided border, and it actually uses the exact same technique as the shell border, but in a little bit different way. So to make this style of border, we're going to use the 18 Wilton star tip, and because it's a lot smaller and because a lot of people need to use these to change out tips as they decorate, we're going to use a coupler for it. So I'm going to show you how to cut the bag when you need to use a coupler. So just like with the other tip, you want to drop this part in first because this is the part that you don't want to slide out the end of your bag. So you are just going to estimate. There are grooves on this coupler that this collar has to connect to. So you want to make sure that those are outside of the plastic, but not too far. So right here, I have these grooves are exposed and the plastic is just below them, so that's what we want. Your piping tip goes right on top, and then the collar goes over the top of that. You screw it on, nice and tight. Now this is really helpful if you're gonna change out your tip as you're decorating. If you did go and get that beginner set of decorating tips and you wanna try out some other things, you definitely wanna use your couplers so that you can just change out whatever tip you wanna use. So to do the braided border, I'm going to show you again on this flat surface. I highly recommend practicing this at home on a flat surface before trying on your cake as well. It's going to be the same technique as the shell border, but you're just going to do it twice, and you're going to do it at two different angles. So instead of starting straight ahead like we did with this shell, we're going to start slightly to the left, and you're going to start piping your shell the same way you did before. You let it build and then pull away. Then we're gonna come on the other side, right over the tail of the shell, and pipe another shell. You end up with a slightly offset X, which is gonna be the start of our braid. So now you're gonna come back on the left side and pipe another shell, and alternate, going back and forth over each side of the tails. And then you have a beautiful braided border that was really easy, only using the shell style. So now we're gonna put this braided border on the cake. I'm only gonna do half of the top of this cake because I have another style of border that I want to show you, and I'm just using this one cake. But whatever you do, you would do the same border around the whole top of your cake. So just like with the shells, you want to make sure that when you're actually piping, you're still trying to stay as straight towards you as possible, just like how you practiced on the flat surface. So I'm going to start here on the side of my cake because that's the one that's pointing towards me. I'm holding my piping bag at a 45-degree angle to my cake. Remember, I'm not straight up and down, and I'm also not flat. And I'm going to start, I'm going to actually start with my outer braid at first. I'm going to go to the right first. And there you have half of your cake with a braided border. Now, I do not recommend doing the bottom border and the top border with two different tips like this, especially when they're very similar styles that both use the same shell technique. So I would, if I wasn't demonstrating using two different tips for you today, I probably would have done the top braided border with that bigger 1M tip as well. So don't worry if you don't have a bunch of tips at home, because you can and maybe should start using the same tip for all of your border styles. And now we are going to move on to our final decorating style. So the last decorating style that I'm going to teach you is the rope border. I've already filled my bag. This rope border is a completely different technique than the shell style. So if you just want to keep working on your shells, go for it, but this is the next step. I am back with my 1M Wilton tip. If you notice, I didn't use that white coupler. These tips are too big to use couplers with, so that's why it's just in the bag as is. For the rope border, it's going to start off a little bit differently than the other two. Instead of coming straight towards you with the frosting, you're going to be sideways. You're going to be parallel to your body. You want to be, again, not fully upright. You are going to be a little bit past the 45 so that you can get closer to your cake. So this rope border starts with piping a mound of frosting and then immediately starting to move in a circular motion. And as you move in a circular motion, you need to be constantly pulling away from where you start and moving at the same circle diameter. So you don't want to be making big circles with your hand and then making really tiny circles. You'll see when I pipe this in a minute. So I'm gonna start piping my slight mound and then moving in a sideways circle. I'm trying to keep my circle as evenly sized as possible, and I'm applying even pressure with my piping bag through this whole thing. And when I want to stop, I'm just going to release the pressure and pull away. So that was a little fast, but that is how you pipe your rope border. It becomes that beautiful rope style, and all you did was make little circles sideways on top of your cake, and you ended up with that. So now we're gonna go ahead and put this on your cake. So again, you want to make the cake come to you. You don't want to be moving your body and changing your hand position to fit the cake. So I have arranged where I want to start, which is right here at the end of that border, so that it's nice and flat to me. So I'm going to start right here. And that is how you do a simple rope border. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you see and you want to check out some of the other things that I do, I'm on Instagram at Dolce del Rosso, and you can see all my finished cakes there. So definitely check it out.